the Iranian people on the one hand, and their faith and the way they relate to divine values on the other hand.
In a world where power and mystery intertwine, one woman's disappearance has captivated a nation. This is the story of Iran's most influential First Lady, whose sudden vanishing act left the country wondering, was this planned or was she silenced? The death that shook Iran. On May 19, 2024, the skies over Iran witnessed a tragedy that would reshape the nation's political landscape. President Ibrahim Ray, infamously known as the Butcher of Tehran, perished in a devastating helicopter crash alongside several high-ranking officials. His death split the country into two camps, those who mourned their leader and those who secretly welcomed the possibility of change, hoping for a future with more freedom and less oppression. But amidst the chaos and speculation, one question echoed through the streets of Tehran. What became of Jamila Alam Hoda, the president's wife? Unlike her predecessors, she wasn't merely a silent partner. She wielded real influence within Iran's power corridors. Many believed she could succeed her husband, becoming Iran's first female president. Then mysteriously, she disappeared. A legacy of women in power. To grasp the significance of Jamila Alamod's role, we must journey back to a different Iran. Before 1979's Islamic Revolution, the nation flourished under a monarchy where women held prominent positions. Empress Farah Pahlavi, or Shah Banu, stood as a beacon of female empowerment. She wasn't content being a figurehead. She revolutionized Iranian culture, establishing museums, championing artists, and advancing education. Her era marked a golden age of cultural renaissance. However, this prosperity came with its shadows. While the royal family basked in opulence, ordinary Iranians grappled with poverty and social inequality. The stark contrast between palatial grandeur and widespread hardship fueled growing discontent, ultimately igniting the 1979 revolution that forced the Shah and Empress into exile. The rise of Jamila. Born in 1965 in Mashhad, Iran's religious heartland, Jamila Sadat Alamulhoda's destiny was intertwined with power from the start. Her father, Ahmad Alamulhoda, wielded significant influence as a conservative cleric and member of the Assembly of Experts. At just 18, she married Ibrahim Ray, then an ambitious figure in Iran's judiciary. While her husband ascended through Iran's political ranks, Jamila pursued academic excellence. She earned her PhD in educational philosophy from Tarbiyat Moors University in 2001, later becoming a professor at Shahed Bahishi University. But unlike the silent first ladies before her, Jamila refused to remain in the background. She broke decades of tradition by appearing in public, giving interviews, and accompanying her husband on diplomatic missions. She maintained the conservative dress code, but pushed boundaries in ways that both inspired and alarmed different segments of Iranian society. When she emerged as First Lady in 2021, she defied expectations by actively participating in state affairs, organizing conferences, and leading government initiatives. While maintaining adherence to Islamic Republic principles, she carved out a unique space for herself in Iran's male-dominated political sphere. Some praised her courage, others saw her as a threat to established norms. But everyone agreed. Jamila Alamod was redefining what it meant to be Iran's First Lady. The Academic Powerhouse. Within the halls of Shahed Bahi University, Jamila carved out her academic empire. Her courses weren't mere lectures, they were intellectual battlegrounds where philosophy of higher education clashed with Islamic anthropology, where teaching methods merged with theoretical foundations of education. Students who passed through her classroom doors emerged with stories of an instructor who commanded respect, intelligent, uncompromising, and deeply committed to her ideological beliefs. But the classroom was just the beginning. In 2013, she made a bold move by establishing the Institute of Fundamental Studies of Science and Technology at Shahed Bahi University. This wasn't just another research center. It was her vision of harmonizing Islamic principles with scientific advancement, creating a unique blend of faith and innovation in Iran's academic landscape. Rising through the ranks. March 2020 marked a pivotal moment in Jamila's ascent when she secured the position of secretary within the Council for Iran's Educational System Transformation. This role, under the Supreme Council of the Cultural Revolution, placed her at the heart of one of Iran's most ideologically influential institutions. Her influence grew quietly but steadily, with her name appearing on increasingly significant appointments. By May 2023, she had secured a seat on the executive board for faculty recruitment at Tehran University, another strategic position in Iran's academic hierarchy. These appointments revealed a carefully orchestrated expansion of power, particularly in areas crucial to the Islamic Republic's identity: education, cultural values, and policymaking. The shadow behind the power. Ibrahim Raizi's story runs parallel to Jamila's rise, casting a long shadow over her public life. Born in 1960 in Mashhad, his early life was marked by tragedy when his father passed away during his childhood. The young Raizi immersed himself in religious studies and Islamic law, eventually joining the revolution against the Shah. The establishment of the Islamic Republic in 1979 opened doors for Raizi's rapid advancement. At just 20, he became a local prosecutor near Tehran, quickly gaining notoriety for his severe judgments. However, his darkest chapter came in 1988, following the Iran-Iraq War. As one of 4 men on a decisive committee, he authorized the secret execution of thousands of political prisoners, many of whom had already served most of their sentences. This earned him the chilling moniker, the Butcher of Tehran, a title that would follow him throughout his career. The rise of the Butcher. As Ibrahim Raizi climbed Iran's judicial ladder, his reputation for ruthlessness grew alongside his power. He became one of Iran's most feared judges, notorious for endorsing public executions, suppressing activists, and violently crushing protests. His treatment of dissidents, particularly young women who dared to challenge the system, was marked by brutality, ranging from beatings to imprisonment and worse. His ascent to presidency in 2021 came through an election shrouded in controversy. The process was marred by the systematic exclusion of serious opposition candidates, leading to widespread voter boycotts. Despite this, official results declared Raizi the winner, with 62% of the vote. While he campaigned on promises of economic reform and poverty alleviation, his presidency quickly descended into chaos as food prices skyrocketed and civil unrest spread across the nation. The spark that ignited Iran. The death of Mahsa Amini, a 22-year-old woman detained for improper hijab wearing, became the catalyst for unprecedented nationwide protests. Rather than addressing the public's grievances, Raizi's government responded with characteristic brutality. The ensuing crackdown left over 500 dead, including children, while more than 20,000 citizens were arrested. Throughout his tenure, Raizi remained steadfastly loyal to Supreme Leader Ali Khamenei, enforcing the strictest interpretation of religious law. His government doubled down on mandatory hijab regulations, restricted personal freedoms, and silenced opposition voices with increasing ferocity. The unexpected First Lady. Against this backdrop of oppression, Jamila Alamhoda emerged as an anomaly in Iranian politics. Breaking with tradition where First Ladies remained invisible to the public eye, she carved out a prominent role for herself. While maintaining the conservative appearance expected of her position, complete with the traditional black chador, she demonstrated an unexpected degree of public engagement. Her activities were unprecedented for an Iranian First Lady. She accompanied her husband on international diplomatic missions, including a significant visit to Latin America. She engaged with foreign media, including American outlets, and became a regular presence at conferences and political gatherings. Perhaps most notably, she organized the Congress of Influential Women in Tehran in January 2023, bringing together spouses of international leaders, an initiative that was entirely her own. Power behind the scenes. Jamila's influence extended far beyond public appearances. Behind closed doors, she wielded significant power in governmental affairs, personally conducting interviews with potential ministers and making recommendations for key positions. Her involvement in cabinet appointments, including suggesting an inexperienced candidate for education minister who was later rejected by parliament, raised eyebrows within Iran's conservative establishment. Her growing influence eventually prompted concern from the highest levels of power, with Supreme Leader Khamenei reportedly sending private warnings to Raisi about his wife's involvement in state affairs. Yet, despite these admonitions, Jamila continued to expand her role, creating a complex dynamic between her public image as a traditional first lady and her actual influence within Iran's power structure. The shadow of influence. Within Iran's complex political landscape, Jamila's power grew far beyond traditional boundaries. She maintained a formidable presence in government affairs, particularly in shaping education, cultural policies, and national values. Her influence extended through a carefully crafted network, including her son-in-law and his brother, who held significant positions in economic ministries. Together, they formed an intimate circle of trusted advisors around President Ray, challenging the conventional role of women in Iranian politics. Controversial voice. In June 2023, during a diplomatic visit to Venezuela, Jamila sparked international controversy with a statement that sent shockwaves through Iranian society. She questioned the modern paradigm of women's equality, declaring that women pursuing traditionally male-dominated paths represented a form of violence. Her perspective wasn't about physical abuse, but rather what she viewed as society's pressure on women to abandon their natural roles. She argued that Western nations, under the guise of liberation, were actually harming women, particularly in professional settings. Her criticism extended to feminist movements, which she accused of narrowly focusing on domestic violence, while ignoring what she termed organized violence beyond the family structure. Defender of tradition. The controversy intensified in September 2023 when Iran implemented stricter hijab laws. Jamila stood firmly behind these measures, framing them as protective rather than punitive. In an ABC interview, she drew parallels between Iran's hijab requirements and Western dress codes, arguing that law enforcement was universal. Her diplomatic yet unyielding responses to direct questions about imprisoning women for hijab violations revealed her skillful navigation of international media while maintaining hardline positions. Following Mahsa Amini's death, Jamila aligned herself with the official narrative, dismissing allegations of state violence and instead pointing fingers at foreign powers, particularly the United States, for what she called a manufactured media campaign against Iran. In conversations with Al-Mayadeen, she expanded her critique, portraying Western cultural influence as an attempt to impose a foreign concept of womanhood globally. Her vision of feminine strength centered on traditional roles, motherhood, supporting spouses, and preserving cultural values. She particularly praised women who raised fighters in Palestine, Lebanon, and Iran, framing this as a form of cultural resistance against Western influence. Whether viewed as a courageous voice against Western hegemony or an apologist for an oppressive regime, Jamila Alam Hoda remained unflinching in her convictions. Her unwavering stance and powerful influence continued until that fateful day in May 2024, when President Ray's helicopter journey would alter Iran's political landscape forever. The final flight. The fog-shrouded mountains of East Azerbaijan became the stage for Iran's darkest day. President Ray's helicopter, carrying not just him but also Iran's foreign minister, the governor of East Azerbaijan, and several senior officials, plummeted from the sky. The nation plunged into mourning, with black banners draping the streets and funeral ceremonies echoing across cities. The Vanishing Act. In those early days of grief, Jamila Alam Hoda maintained her dignity, appearing at official ceremonies dressed in black, her presence a testament to her strength. But then, like a shadow at sunset, she disappeared. The contrast was striking. This woman, who had once dominated public life, giving countless interviews and standing proudly beside her husband on international stages, had suddenly fallen silent. No statements, no appearances, not even a whisper on social media platforms. Yet her name refused to fade into obscurity. Iranian media, particularly the reformist newspaper Ham Mihan, began floating an unprecedented possibility. Could Jamila Alam Hoda become Iran's first female president? The principalist camp, hardline conservatives loyal to her late husband's vision, whispered her name in corridors of power. She possessed the perfect credentials: name recognition, loyal supporters, and the prestigious lineage of a famous cleric father. The supreme leader's shadow. Behind closed doors, a different narrative emerged. Reports suggested that even before Ray's death, Supreme Leader Ali Khamenei had grown increasingly uncomfortable with Jamila's expanding influence. Her frequent media appearances, ministerial meetings, and rumored involvement in government appointments, including suggesting an education minister candidate, had crossed unspoken boundaries. Sources claim Khamenei had privately warned Ray to control your wife. The aftermath of Ray's death stripped away Jamila's political protection. Within weeks, the Supreme Council of the Cultural Revolution quietly removed her from her position as head of the National Education Council, a role she had held since 2020. No explanation was offered, no farewell ceremony conducted. A man simply took her place, sending a clear message: her time in power had ended. The new era. Despite the apparent push to silence her, Jamila's name continued circulating in political discussions. In a nation where women had been systematically excluded from power for 4 decades, the mere mention of a female presidential candidate represented a seismic shift in political discourse. However, when the Guardian Council announced its approved list of candidates for the snap election, Jamila Alam Hoda's name was conspicuously absent. Instead, Iran chose Masoud Peshkian, a moderate former health minister who campaigned on promises of reform and unity. His victory in late July 2024 marked a new chapter in Iranian politics, one without a first lady, as Peshkian remains unmarried following his wife's passing years ago. While his daughter has begun making public appearances, earning the unofficial title of First Daughter of Iran, she maintains no official role in government. The dream of a powerful First Lady, embodied briefly by Jamila Alam Hoda, has faded into the shadows of Iranian history. Even if she had achieved the unprecedented feat of becoming Iran's first female president, the fundamental structures of power would likely have remained unchanged. After all, Jamila was never a revolutionary. She was a product of the very system that ultimately chose to silence her. The legacy of power. Throughout her time in the public eye, Jamila Alam Hoda remained an unwavering defender of Iran's conservative establishment. Her support for strict hijab laws wasn't merely passive compliance. She actively championed these regulations, framing them as necessary safeguards for society. When protests erupted over government crackdowns, she stood firmly beside her husband's administration, defending even the harshest measures as essential for maintaining order. While her potential ascension to presidency would have marked a historic milestone as Iran's first female leader, the fundamental nature of power would likely have remained unchanged. The system she defended, with its strict moral codes, limited freedoms, and heavy-handed approach to dissent, would have continued unabated. The same laws that restricted women's freedoms, the same fear that silenced voices of opposition, and the same institutional barriers that kept reformists at bay would have persisted under her leadership. Yet her story raises compelling questions about the future of Iranian politics. Could she emerge from the shadows and reclaim her position of influence? Despite her current absence from public life, some political analysts suggest that Jamila Alam Hoda's story isn't finished. Her unique combination of conservative credentials and unprecedented visibility as a woman in power could still make her a formidable candidate in future elections. The possibility of her return forces us to confront deeper questions about Iran's readiness for female leadership. Would a woman president, even one as deeply embedded in the conservative establishment as Jamila, represent genuine progress? Or would her presidency simply provide a new face for an old system, offering the appearance of change while maintaining the status quo? As Iran continues its complex dance between tradition and progress, Jamila Alam Hoda's story serves as a fascinating case study of power, gender, and politics in the Islamic Republic. What do you think? Share your thoughts in the comments below. And if you found this exploration of Iranian politics intriguing, don't forget to like and subscribe for more deep dives into global political mysteries.